Today's episode is supported by our friends at the Heinz History Center and their exhibit, Pittsburgh's Hidden History. All the curators got to bring up some of their favorite pieces, all from storage, and a lot of these items are on display for the very first time. You will see a mini dress made of aluminum, old menus from local restaurants, the nostalgia, and a spooky vampiress from an old Kennywood ride. It is such a cool peek into Pittsburgh's past and also the minds of our Heinz History Center curators. And remember, kids 17 and under get free admission to the museum every single day, thanks to the Cayman Free for Kids initiative. For more information and to plan your visit heinzhistorycenter.org. This is CityCast Pittsburgh. I'm Megan Harris, and here's what Pittsburgh's talking about. Okay, y'all, Governor Josh Shapiro just signed this new state law requiring schools to teach cursive writing. What else do you think schools should be required to teach?
Taxes. It's tax season, and every year I just sort of guess and assume that things will go right if I put the numbers in the right boxes. Fingers crossed.
That's never true.
I would love to see schools teaching bicycle ridership and safety. I feel like, make that a part of gym class, get people to, teach them how to say things like on your left or like passing and, etiquette, things of that nature. I feel like that if you start kids young with that, it also makes them better drivers around bicycles.
My high school actually had a bicycle unit, but we didn't really learn things. We just went around a soccer field and I was too short to get on the bike. So somebody needed to help me every time. And I just couldn't stop until the period was over.
Okay, I had an idea before coming into this, but now I think I've changed my answer. I want motorcycle riding to be part of like driver's ed. Because, first of all, it's free in Pennsylvania for adults, but I think they should teach children because you understand your own frailty totally differently when you learn how to ride a motorcycle instead of a big ass car. And then, gosh, what was the other one? Oh, career coaching. I think people should learn how to do a resume. Life skills. That seems to be what we're recommending. We want the children to learn the life skills. Today I'm with Colin Williams, CityCast Pittsburgh's contributor and also a new reporter. Do you want to give the details?
Yay! Yeah, I have just landed at the Pittsburgh Tribune Review. I think we can call it that now. We are ramping up coverage of the city, and I'm really excited to see what's ahead. I've kind of hit the ground running this first week, and plenty more good stuff to come.
Yeah, city paper always in our hearts, but the Pittsburgh Trib always happy to celebrate as well. And of course, CityCast Pittsburgh producer Sophia Lowe.
Hello.
Hi. We are going to talk today about cannabis, some good and not great things for the airport, a devastating blow to Pittsburgh in the Olympics, cursive writing, and how to hang out with us this weekend. Plus, we've got a few of your comments, questions, some deep thoughts about a few shows we've had lately. We're really appreciative every time y'all write in. Also, at the end of this show, we have a segment sponsored by the Westmoreland Museum of American Art, all about their exhibit that looks at our region's steel legacy. So stick around. We will start with cannabis. And the existential question we ask ourselves every year here at CityCast is, will something get legalized this year? Can it happen?
Yes, recreational cannabis, because of course medical cannabis is legal here in Pennsylvania.
But complicated.
Well, Governor Josh Shapiro once again pitched legalizing recreational cannabis in his budget address. He's done this every single year so far. And this time around, he was saying if we legalize this year, we'd bring about $729 million in taxes. Huge number, but I do want to caveat this is for the first year because a lot of that money would come from like one-time licensing fees. But there'd be, a good amount of tax revenue that does come to the state year after year.
But like how you tax this stuff could change. Like this is just his proposal for how the taxes could work.
Totally.
I'm curious if this number comes from the fact that this recent proposal does involve kind of a state store model similar to what Pennsylvania has done with fine wine and good spirits.
Wait, really? That's what underpins this whole thing?
Well, I'm curious. I'm not sure if that number is from like we would be taking in this much from state stores. But certainly that doesn't seem to be a model that really appeals to Republicans across the aisle. They really did not like the model that the House Dems passed earlier this year.
Last year, yeah, House Dems.
Oh, that's last year.
The time flies.
And Governor Shapiro has also been, he's really been beating the drum on potentially legalizing weed, but he has also not been very vocal about which model he supports. So it seems like a little bit of equivocation on like trying to have it both ways, perhaps.
Yeah, because last year when the House Dems did pass that state store model, he did not come out and say, like Governor Shapiro didn't say whether he supported that or not. He was just like, this is a great step. We need more compromise, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, bro.
And like you said, Colin, like the Republicans in the state Senate have a lot of hangups, besides not liking the state store model. They're worried about the health effects of cannabis, public safety. There's some concerns about how legalization would work when cannabis isn't legal at the federal level. I think that's silly. If other states have figured it out, surely we can too.
But Pennsylvania is always a unique form of a mess. You know what I mean?
It is, but we can do it. I believe in us.
This really is like such a PA way to go about trying to solve this problem, where it's sort of like stuck on like what is going to be the best model. Thankfully, I do think that a lot of people are coming around on this. Voter sentiment certainly seems to be in favor. One person who's been really speaking up in favor of legalization for a long time is Allegheny County Representative Dan Frankel. He's really been out in front of advocating for medical cannabis. He co-sponsored the state store bill.
Right.
He's been taking a broad-minded approach to how to do this. His quote on this was, "We need to at least see that in the Senate there's a willingness and a capacity to pass something," taking a jab at his colleagues there. And, this has been a through line in a lot of issues, but it's been years in the making, right, to try and legalize weed, and it just continues to run aground on the Republican opposition in the Senate.
The thing that I find interesting about Frankel's approach, too, is that, like, while he did co-sponsor something, which I appreciate, like, I like it when you say you support something and you put something to paper. He's also like, if y'all got a better idea, let me know. I'm open to whatever. And I think that's an important step in all of this. I keep thinking back, and I mean, big old grain of salt here, but like when Tom Wolf was governor and Fetterman was our lieutenant governor, his whole deal, like that entire time he was lieutenant governor, was a 67 county tour trying to drum up support for legalizing recreational marijuana. And it just it was his whole personality. And like they did a lot of studies, and it was widely shown to be extremely voter friendly. Like a lot of people wanted this.
Oh, even Republican voters have, been polled as being in favor of this. And it is interesting to look back at Fetterman with a weed flag flying from his office in Harrisburg, that so little forward progress has been made since then.
Which is a real example. That is something that actually happened.
So I will say locally, there has been, in addition to Frankel, there has been a lot of support on the Pittsburgh level.
Yeah.
City Councilor Barb Warwick has sponsored a will of council that would ask Governor Shapiro and reps in Harrisburg to actually legalize recreational weed. Warwick has basically been saying that there's a real unfairness in the way the laws have been implemented in Pennsylvania. And one of the things that City Council actually did 2 years ago under Warwick's direction was pass a carve-out for medical marijuana patients and career drug testing. So Pittsburgh is also, Pittsburgh has decriminalized it, but that approach does not really extend outside of the city. You can sense the impatience that local lawmakers are starting to have with this whole issue.
And once again, decriminalization is not legalization. Like, you don't want to have have the interaction with law enforcement or your boss or whoever and then get out of it like that. Let's just remove all of that.
Totally. And, cannabis advocates and people in the industry are kind of feeling the same way. Like, they're not feeling super hopeful that legalization is happening because the Senate keeps dragging their feet. But also, some people think that lawmakers need to do one thing at a time. Like, they can't have one bill that addresses all of legalization. They need to work on decriminalizing possession and that kind of thing. And the small steps, I don't know. Megan, you clearly feel some kind of way about that.
No,
You're
it's
laughing.
not that. It's lawmakers can't do more than one thing at a time. I was thinking to myself, oh, you mean any bill? They can't do two bills at a time. Maybe you're right. Maybe that is the problem. They literally can't walk and chew gum at the same time. I got it now.
One thing I thought was really interesting is that a Republican lawmaker in the Senate, his name's Dan Laughlin. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan. Anyway, he chairs the committee in the Senate that any legalization bill would have to go through. And he said if legislators had to pick between raising taxes and legalizing weed, more people would be in favor of legalizing cannabis. So I don't know. Let's think about that.
Republicans know the tax argument real well. I think that's literally tattooed on the backs of their necks.
This is such a revenue issue, though. I mean, ultimately, like the argument that lawmakers who are in favor of legalization keep making again and again, because it's true, is that PA would be leaving money on the table. I mean, all of our neighbors have legalized recreational
except
weed.
West Virginia.
Except for West Virginia.
And everybody's jumping the border to go get whatever it is they need if they don't want to sign up for the medical program, which, I mean, especially for Republicans, and it's really anybody, but it's just, I'm speaking to the base here, like, you can't, for example, have a registered gun in your home if you want to be part of the medical program. And for some people, that is a heck of a deal breaker. So they would rather just drive to Ohio and get whatever it is they need.
This is another thing where Pittsburgh and Philly are setting the tone, and we just have to hope at some point that Harrisburg catches up, right?
But I think it's all those middle counties that want it too. They want it too.
I think that maybe next year could be the year if the Dems take the Senate in the midterm. So I know there's a bunch of steps there, but hey.
We haven't had one party control both houses in our state in a long time. I don't know how long it's been. It's been a while.
Today's show is brought to you by Living Memory. A few years ago, I did this audio interview with my grandma asking about her life story. And while it's really meaningful to go back and re-listen, there are some things it just did not capture. Like her mannerisms, the way she'd crack the teeniest smile when saying something deadpan, even just how it felt to be sitting in her living room. I really wish Living Memory had been around when she was still around. It's a service that uses virtual reality to capture your loved ones' legacies and wisdom. Living Memory does these really in-depth interviews with your loved ones and then provides you with this beautiful immersive footage so you can save their story and their presence. I got to try it out and it was pretty remarkable. I put on this VR headset and instantly felt like I was sitting right in the room with this couple as they told the story of how they first met. I got to see their little tics and the tender ways they looked at each other while hearing detailed stories from their lives. With Living Memory, you don't just get to preserve someone's story, you get to hear the way they tell it and feel like you are right there with them. For information, testimonials, and more, head over to livingmemoryxr.com. That's livingmemory, the letter X, the letter R.com.
All right, we're moving on to a mailbag segment of sorts. When I ask y'all questions as part of this podcast, or we put stuff in our newsletter, we are not just talking into the air. These are not theoretical quandaries. Like, we actually do want to hear from you. Y'all are so smart and you have so much experience. I crack up every time I ask something and then somebody's in our DMs or emailing. They're like, actually, I did my master's thesis on this topic. Let me break it down. Thank you. Every single time that happens, I love it. So we're going to run through some fun responses that we've gotten lately. First and foremost, snaps here for Fish Fry Day. It's officially Fish Fry season here in Pittsburgh. Shout out to Janelle, who heard my fervent prayer for cornmeal catfish and spotted a delicious looking umami bomb that's being served at Stump Pig this week.
That. It's got like miso too, which is exactly how you get me.
By the time y'all hear this, I will have acquired this sandwich. I will report back, Sophia. I am so excited. Thank you. Thank you, Janelle.
Pro tip, by the way, if you're ever cooking catfish at home, if you dredge it in buttermilk first, it takes away the fishiness and leaves just that delicious, succulent white fish flavor.
Okay, I don't need to take away the fishiness, Colin, but yeah, I also support making it at home.
Well, speaking of fishiness, a minor bummer this year is that, along with everything else, the price of fish has been going up. And apparently this is actually related to the fact that most fish fries fry cod. And cod has been really affected by conflict in Ukraine. It's also been affected by some of the tensions around Arctic shipping in Greenland. And local fish vendors have been saying that their wholesale prices are just going up and up and up. And unfortunately, it's getting passed along to consumers. So something to watch out for this year is your fish fry may have gone up a couple dollars since last year.
That's so annoying. Like, I don't mind the price going up, actually. I just wanted to go to the organization, like the Churchill, the VFW, whatever. Like, I want to know that I'm giving them an extra buck. It's annoying to know that I'm having to do it for any other reason, really.
Totally. And if you don't have a go-to fish fry yet, I got to shout out the fish fry map. Our friends at pghfishfry.org put together this beautiful map with filters that help you figure out where to go next. You can filter for like homemade pierogi, what's open for lunch, like even what spots are open for Good Friday if you're, very late to the fish fry game. Get in early.
And do y'all have a fish fry? Like, do you have one in mind for today? Like I said, I'm going to Stump Pig, so that's my pick today.
I think my first port of call is probably going to be Community Kitchen in Hazelwood. I've heard that they have a really good fish fry, and I've been meaning to check it out for a while.
Sophia?
Same here. And honestly, if I'm going to be real, I'm not getting a fish fry tonight. It's still Chinese New Year for me. So that's next week. I'm going out for dumplings tonight.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, Lunar New Year started this week. Yeah. If you were a Mardi Gras person, you might still be recovering from Tuesday. Like, there's been a lot happening this week.
Ramadan,
so a lot to choose from.
Yeah.
Lot to
Ramadan
celebrate.
Mubarak to all our listeners who are fasting today.
Yes. Oh, gosh. And we're talking about food. I'm so sorry, y'all.
Next. More wins.
Another note we got recently. So we had a friend of the pod, Josh Axelrod, on from the Lindsay Theater and Cultural Center over in Sewickley. We were talking about all the ways that you can experience Oscar-nominated films here in the city, and a lot of Pittsburgh people who have been nominated for various awards, things like that. I got a note in our DMs that there is another Oscar-nominated producer from Pittsburgh that we did not mention that was not on our list. We got snubbed. Connor Hannon for If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You.
I love that title so much.
It's a good title. The whole production is nominated. It's a specific actress in it. But I just think it's so great. And we want to celebrate any Pittsburgher that's like even tangentially related to this. Because like if you make a thing, if you put your whole heart into it, and anyone on your team in a creative space like that gets a nomination, like that is huge. That is so worthy of celebration. So Connor, we are very happy for you. Very proud of you. He was co-founder of Bronxburg along with Richie Doyle. So this is their first feature. They did it through the production house A24.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's got Rose Byrne. She's the one who's nominated for an Oscar. Conan O'Brien, A$AP Rocky, and he's from Pittsburgh. And like I said, named it like kind of based on those connections from New York City and Pittsburgh. So Bronxburg, good for him.
You know, I haven't watched a ton of the Oscar-nominated movies or anything. Sinners is at the top of my list. I want to watch the short films, but we have a great article about where to watch things and just sort of what our film community is up to. So you can check that out at pittsburgh.citycast.fm.
And then one more here. It gets a little bit more serious, but I had posed a question to y'all last Friday. And then again, we talked about it with our county executive, Sarah Innamorato, about rumors, allegations, thoughts that perhaps people that work in the county courthouse are snitching on our immigrant neighbors.
I have heard those rumors as well.
That is flying around. There's no question about that. But I had posed the question, like, is that what's happening? Or is there another way, like, by which people can find this information? Turns out, yes. So the snitching might still be occurring, but also ICE can very easily check a court docket. I won't lie, I was a little skeptical about this, but I did go on the website. So there's something called the Unified Judicial System web portal. Colin, you've been a news reporter for so long. I feel like you've touched this thing, and I have too, but I was always only ever looking up specific cases. I was never just like trying to find everything that touches a specific court on a given day, but that is totally possible. So multiple ways, unfortunately, for federal agents to be finding this information and targeting folks literally based on the ethnicity, perceived ethnicity of their names.
These court websites are relatively difficult to navigate unless you have spent a lot of time on there.
It is kind of hard. It took me solidly 15 minutes to find the right button, and I had to ask follow-up questions.
You have to put in a lot of different parameters if you're trying to get out data the good old-fashioned way. One thing that I actually think is a real possibility here is that the government's heavy use of AI tools is it's possible that they have vibe coded some sort of scraping tool that is feeding them information on a day-to-day basis about which court cases are coming through the courthouse. That's gotten very easy to do.
And I don't even want to think about the possibility that like our federal agents are now also using AI to make this stuff even easier for themselves.
I mean, we've already seen that proof in Minnesota with the use of things like Palantir and flock cameras. So it's definitely, a use of technology that's been kind of given the federal blessing.
Yeah, and Flock is something that exists here in Pittsburgh. We actually just talked to the head of Frontline Dignity that's been doing so much work with our immigrant community, really trying to witness as much as they can and be there and support folks that are being affected by these ICE raids and what they're calling snatch and grabs. So you'll hear that on this show next week. But to be clear, when we talk about the courthouse and potential snitches, we mean like literally federal agents showing up to a legal court proceeding where someone is maybe testifying, not involved in any way, and like a criminal charge, nothing like that. and they're being grabbed there. Like it could even be like a family court situation. Like these people are supposed to be protected. Everyone is supposed to be protected when you step inside the courthouse, and that's not happening.
We're seeing a lot of issues with this on a couple of different fronts. I mean, locally, the fact that there have been immigrants with legal status essentially grabbed from their homes and sent to detention. It really flies in the face of the idea that the law is supposed to protect you. I mean, the story from Brentwood.
It's awful.
So Maklim Escalante from Brentwood was actually taken into ICE custody after calling the police during what seemingly was a really violent episode with one of his neighbors. So he called the police. They took the person who was essentially assaulting him away from the scene. And then when he went to testify, he was snatched up by ICE. So this has really sent a chill down the spines of a lot of Pittsburghers. We've got other legal folks like Jose Flores who have been taken into custody here. It's prompted a pretty strong local response. And I do want to actually say on that front that Frontline Dignity has been organizing very quickly locally. Mm-hmm. I saw yesterday there were rumors of ICE potentially staking out different schools in Pittsburgh's East End and in Wilkinsburg. And the community was out with the quickness after a bunch of group texts alerted them to this. There were community observers posted up outside of several different school buildings. And Wilkinsburg neighbors told me that they're extremely upset with the situation and have been in constant communication about this, really organizing with Frontline Dignity and some other local orgs, including One Hood. And their plan is actually to be hosting a public meeting on this matter sometime this week. So that's happening very quickly. And it seems like Minnesota has given other communities some real lessons as to how to respond to this in an organized fashion and in a nonviolent fashion, perhaps most importantly.
Yeah, and just a note on the Brentwood tale, if you're not familiar with the details of this case, shout out to the Post-Gazette. Jacob Jenis, I hope I'm saying that right, did a phenomenal write-up of what's been going on with his family. We're going to have several links in our show notes of like various stories about how this is occurring in our city right now.
Yeah, and with the Jose Flores case, he's out of detention now, but I think still a little unclear about what happens next. But he was arrested in Oakmont, and a lot of people also came out in Oakmont to the council meeting to ask them, to not cooperate with ICE. And the Oakmont Council did vote to bar the borough from engaging in enforcement of non-criminal immigration laws. And just a reminder that, being undocumented alone is not a criminal offense. It's like
it's like a civil thing. It's like on par with like getting pulled over with the, like your taillights out or something.
And if you want to, pitch into your community, like Colin said, look out for those rapid response trainings from Frontline Dignity. They've happened virtually. They've happened in person. And Casa San Jose has also put out calls for volunteers. And that doesn't always necessarily entail rapid response. You might just be like delivering groceries for someone who doesn't feel comfortable leaving their home.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's been efforts with the state and our local governments to try to do something. But like, as our county executive explained this week, like there's just not a lot they can do in these scenarios. Like Governor Josh Shapiro put out a statement saying that they want to prevent ICE from building new detention facilities in Pennsylvania. But like, what can he even do about that?
It's tricky because it runs against private enterprise, right? Like a private landlord probably has every right to sell a property to whom they want. There's only so much a state can do to regulate that. So it's a weird situation where all these sort of public-private partnerships kind of get called into question as well.
Spotlight PA did an article about how Shapiro is trying to push back at least a little bit. So what they reported is that Shapiro is saying his administration won't issue permits to, these facilities that ICE has bought up if they're going to violate regulations for, our laws around pollution and water, how we deal with sewage, that kind of stuff.
But they'd have to know that they're going to violate that sort of thing. Although I fully stand an opportunity to drown the federal government in its own bureaucracy. Yes. Like if that's a form of protest on the part of the governor, hell yeah, let's do it.
Well, what Shapiro said in a letter to DHS is that if the initial reporting about the plans for these facilities is accurate, they definitely will be violating legal requirements around the things like drinking water and sewage. So, for example, he said that this facility that that's planned in Berks County, we've talked about it before, would probably result in more than 14 times the legally permitted amount of wastewater. And there's also this really wild detail in the letter that there's already so much stress on the local water supply near the planned detention center, which is in Schuylkill County. Communities there rely on emergency water supplies brought in by tanker trucks, and the detention center there could require more than 800,000 gallons of water a day, which is more than double the capacity of the entire system. Anyway, we will put in the links of all the reporting from Spotlight PA and all our local publications because so many reporters have been keeping on top of these very devastating updates with ICE that are just happening so quickly.
And it takes every single one of them. I know the Pittsburgh Trib has been following some stuff, Colin. Public Source has been doing the work. WESA, the Post-Gazette. Like, we need literally every organization in this town focused on this to some extent, because otherwise we're not going to know that this happened. It's happening in secret in a way that's so hard to wrap your head around. Okay, now we have some neighbor shout outs. This is part of CityCast Pittsburgh's membership program. So these are the folks that are so committed to us that y'all want us to be around for a while, and we so appreciate you.
Yes, thank you so much to everyone who signs up to be a neighbor. And thank you so much today to Justin N. for submitting a shout out. Justin is shouting out Cilantro y Yaho and says the food is incredible and the service is even better. They have locations in the South Side and in Lawrenceville. And wow, their arepas are so, so good.
Dude, their food is phenomenal, but that frothy green sauce, I could like rub my face on it. Like, it's just so good.
The cilantro and garlic sauce, they sell it by the bottle. So you could leave with, extras to take home.
I think that was like by popular demand because they gave it initially when they first opened, which is years ago now. They've been blessing our community for a while. They served in these itty bitty little cups that were like kind of the size of like 3 thimbles. Like if you're it wasn't enough. It was never enough. I don't know that the limit exists on how much of that sauce would be enough.
Yeah, it's so delicious. And I don't know about the South Side location, but the Lawrenceville one also does brunch on the weekends now too. So that's super fun. I got like a little grilled steak there and also drowned it in the green sauce. So highly recommend. Works for dinner, lunch, brunch, always good.
Amazing leftovers, the plantains. Anyway,
yes.
You got to check it out if you haven't already.
Thank you for sharing, Justin.
Yes. If you want to be like Justin and share your favorite local business, nonprofit, event, dish, you can do so. We want your recommendations always. The best way to shout out to us is to become a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor. Send us your shout out that way. We will read it here. It will be in our newsletter. You can join today at membership.citycast.fm. So we'll turn now to wins and losses and things to know. We just talked a lot about ICE. Sophia, lift up the mood. Bring us up.
Yes, I have a win for hot dog lovers like me. The Oscar Mayer Wienermobile is in town this weekend.
You came to play. I appreciate you. Thank you.
So the, hot dog car is going to be setting up shop by the Children's Museum today from 10 to 2. And then later this weekend, it's going a little bit outside of Pittsburgh in a Butler. But I just love seeing the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile. I'm going to be honest, never got a hot dog from there. But anytime I see it pass, it makes me really happy. Saw it on the highway once in Ohio. That was a weird experience.
I have seen it once on the highway too. And it was hilarious because, the looky-loo thing when there's like an accident, and that's really sad. But like this was a next level amount of looky-looing. Like it was on the interstate, and both sides of the interstate just crawled because you could tell everybody that was near the Wienermobile. Thank you. On where it was traveling, didn't want to leave its side. Like it had its own little like escort group, and then everybody that was passing it on the other side was like, "No, don't leave." It was so funny, like just as like a traffic pattern.
Yeah, just a hot dog shaped car going at 60 miles per hour too was a silly sight.
It truly is. And it wasn't going the speed limit, which was the other problem. It's like when people get behind a cop and they're afraid to go the speed limit now. It was a problem, but a fun one.
Well, I'll keep it in line with the food theme for now, but heading to the airport, which I just went to recently, I had not seen any of the new construction, new terminal. It was actually very beautiful. I was surprised.
It's really pretty.
Oh, I love it so much. The artwork throughout is spectacular and really worth your time if you're traveling through.
Colin, was it you that like published, or was it City Paper at the time that published like the city's newest art museum is at the airport or something?
That was me.
That was a good headline.
Yeah, I mean, I went there to see the new Calder hung up, and all the other art installations were fantastic. But yeah, this week it was just like, hey, we got Shake Shack, and we got Convive, and we got Mi Casa Cantina. So there are tons of restaurants going in, and Minio's has even opened airside as of last month. So lots of Pittsburgh favorites, in spite of the deep loss that we still feel for the McDonald's going away. That was the only cheap breakfast at the airport.
And Rexy, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is still visible when you're going down, because I keep seeing people post videos about it. I haven't been to the airport since it opened in the new space yet, but it's still there. Like if you're going, what is it called? It's not a conveyor belt. Escalator.
The up and down conveyor belt.
The human conveyor belt. If you're going up and down that thing, you can still see the T-Rex down there just sitting alone, but nobody can get to him anymore.
Well, some other good airport news is the Children's Museum has worked with the airport to install a kids' play place there. So there's a really cool hands-on play exhibit. And the Children's Museum, as an aside, actually was just voted the best children's museum in the United States by USA Today this week.
Yeah.
So the best children's museum will now collaborate with the best airport to have the best play place in the country.
Heinz History's got to step it up because they're the best history museum. So like they got to do something, right?
Yeah, well, they've got the Franco Harris thing, so
That's
maybe
true.
they can zhuzh things up a little bit as time goes on.
I want to maybe push back on the best airport part a little bit because it's not all good news there. Because the Allegheny Front recently reported that an alarming amount of PFAs, the forever chemicals, have been found. PFAS, yes. They've been found in waterways around the airport, so...
And I don't think that's the first time this has happened, but the quote-unquote alarming in the headline really like adds a little punch to it.
Yeah, this is apparently an issue at airports nationwide where this firefighting foam just does not break down in nature and has a tendency to seep into the ground and get into local waterways. And in this case, apparently they're finding extremely high levels of PFAS in the Montour Run watershed.
Mm-hmm. And then they get into the Ohio River. That's a source of drinking water. So the airport actually doesn't use like the toxic kind of foam. They started
the worst
using,
foam.
Yeah.
We use a less worse foam.
Yeah, but I mean, we changed to the less worse foam about a year ago. And,
I think it's fluoride-free is what they say. Fluoride-free foam.
Forever chemicals are forever, right? That's the whole point.
Yeah, so even though they changed the foams that they're using, it doesn't mean that Pitt won't continue to be a hotspot, unfortunately.
Yeah, shout out to Allegheny Front for continuing to cover this stuff, and also shout out to Three Rivers Waterkeeper for sampling the water that detected some of this stuff. So we've got a lot of good environmental orgs who are keeping an eye on this stuff, and you got to hope that nature can kind of clean all this stuff out before anybody gets hurt.
Yeah. Just a couple things to run through for me. First and foremost, cursive writing is back, which I think is probably a good idea, if only because it's like it forces a level of creativity, but also like communication. Like I just feel like, and like fine motor skills. Like I feel like there's a lot that gets learned through the process of learning how to cursive write, even if you never learn how to do it like with beautiful penmanship. I'm raising my own hand here because like I never mastered like cool girl handwriting. You know what I mean? But I can
was
like
great at it.
I can do like scripty, half cursive, half print writing. And I feel like even that is better than nothing.
That's how I write naturally, too. Like half cursive, half print.
Yeah, my handwriting is just kind of a mess. It all sort of connects in a pseudo-cursive way, but I will say at least this is going to help future students. But man, the students who have not learned cursive that are currently coming through my classroom at Pitt, some of them could use a little practice.
Wait, what do they have to do that has to be handwritten in your class, Colin?
Oh, to avoid AI and to foster some more original thinking, I've been assigning them prompts in class that they complete in a handwritten journal. So we're going really old school in my creative writing class this semester.
I mean, I would have hated it at that age because I wanted to perfect my word craft even at age 18, but I love it as an adult.
I'm glad I went to college before the age of AI because I hated handwriting things.
This is another Shapiro move. Signed a bill into law. Goes into effect April 12th. That's 412 day around here. We're trying to make it a thing. 18 other states have also made this a requirement or started re-requiring it. And Pennsylvania, I think we dropped it like around 2010 or something like that. Our state standards for education have changed so much. But anyway, it's back. Another one, just because we've talked about it so much on the show, we do officially now have a police chief. Jason Lando took his oath a week ago today. So it's real. It happened. He did talk a little bit about ICE during his, in the remarks after the fact. Nothing we didn't already know, but I guess suffice it to say the police department is very aware of how scared everyone is. Remains to be seen what they can reasonably do about that.
And how long Lando sticks around. Let's hope he has a little bit longer of a tenure than our previous few police chiefs.
I mean, it wouldn't take much. I think the record for the last 5 of them is a year and a half, something like that. Oof. Scott Schubert stuck around for a minute. I can't remember where he falls in that line. But anyway, yes, I hope that I hope that Lando lasts. He did buy a very fancy house on the south side. A friend of mine sent me the listing the other day, and I'll send it to y'all. It's funny. Multi-level, a lot of art, a lot of mirrors.
Well, I have a sports loss and a sports win for us today. So the sports loss, I'm sure Pens fans are already aware of. Sidney Crosby left the game yesterday versus the Czech Republic with a lower body injury. So he was taken off the ice. That resulted in a very, very close game that ended in overtime with a Canadian goal, 4-3. But it's not clear if Sid the Kid is going to be playing again during the Olympics. He's undergoing imaging. No. He didn't join the team for practice yesterday morning. But Canada's head coach has kind of tried to play it both ways and says he's, quote, by no means ruled out of the tournament. So we will see what comes next for number 87.
And I'm sure this is going to change by the time y'all are hearing this. Because time is fungible when you're recording a podcast. But like the initial response from the Penguins head coach was, haven't heard anything about it. I know as much as y'all. So like that's kind of wild. Like when professional athletes from any nation go play on behalf of their country, in Italy in this case, like the coach that pays his salary, like he has no idea what's going on. Like the star player just got hurt elsewhere. And now Pittsburgh just gets to live with that. It stinks.
Yeah, we're seeing that the upside of having NHL players in the Olympics is really fun hockey. The downside is potentially, knock-on effects on the NHL season. So that's a bit of a loss for Pittsburgh. We'll see how things shake out with Sidney. On the win column, however, Pitt is going to be hosting a block party during the NFL draft. So the NFL draft is officially for fans of the Panthers in addition to pro fans.
All football. All
football is welcome. So this was actually my first byline with the Trib yesterday was the announcement about this block party. So Pitt is working with the Cultural Trust, and they're going to be staging one of the very first events at the Arts Landing space between 7th and 9th Streets downtown.
It's looking pretty good. It seems like construction's come a long way there.
I've seen Market Square. I haven't seen Arts Landing yet. I need to drive back.
Yeah, Arts Landing is looking good. They got the band shell up. They're working on landscaping stuff. They're finishing up the sidewalks along Allegheny Landing. So Pitt will be taking over this space early April during the draft, and they're planning to have live entertainment. They're going to have an interactive museum of sorts, and they also promise a bunch of food trucks and other activities for kids. So should be a really fun event for anybody who's more of a Panthers fan than a Steelers fan.
And I guess that wouldn't be early April. The draft kicks off. It's 3 days starting April 23rd. I have this on every single calendar I own because I want to remember that that's the day. You know that feeling when you're like trying to go somewhere and you're like, oh no, there's a home game today.
I don't think it'll sneak up on you though, like the way this is taking over the city.
Sophia, you know how much stuff we're required to do on a day-to-day basis? Like I can forget anything. I could forget my own birthday.
I don't think you're going to forget your own birthday. You make a whole to-do out of it.
You also have an opportunity to hang out with us this weekend if you want to.
Yes, Pittsburgh Social Health is hosting a Connection Expo. So this is going to be tomorrow at Vellum Fermentation from 12 to 4. It's basically like a giant club fair. So you can find new groups to hang out with, meet new people, try a bunch of activities, and also a bunch of local organizations will be tabling there so you can get more information. So we'll be there. We'll be handing out stickers. Come say hello. We'll probably have some little activity. And I think it's just going to be a really cool opportunity. See what other groups are out and about in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, always a fun time to be able to make friends, to be in community. Also, just that Vellum space is really fun.
Oh yeah, I love it there. What a cool arcade situation they've got.
Yeah, so y'all come say hi. And don't go anywhere right now either. Sophia is going to hang on here for a sponsored conversation with the Westmoreland Museum of American Art. It's all about their new exhibit, Steel Valley Visions, An American Legacy. I've seen it. It's so cool. You want to check it out.
Hey there, I'm here with Dr. Erica Knuckles, the Director of Learning, Engagement, and Partnerships at the Westmoreland Museum of American Art. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I know we are going to get all into your featured exhibit, Steel Valley Visions, An American Legacy. But before we get into that, could you please tell me a little bit more about the art museum generally?
So the Westmoreland Museum of American Art is in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. And we are actually the only museum in Western Pennsylvania that is dedicated to American art.
Very cool.
Yeah, and we have a lot of great exhibitions that are focused on our permanent collection, which spans from around the 1750s to present day. But we also bring in some really cool traveling exhibitions from around the country, from other institutions, from other partners of ours, so that we can tell really countless stories of American art, history, and culture here at the museum. And in addition to that, we also have a huge array of programming throughout the year, different classes, community days, art on taps, you name it. There's really something for everyone at the Westmoreland. And my absolute favorite thing about the museum is that our general admission is free.
Woo, that's always so exciting to hear. I've been meaning to check out the Westmoreland for so long, and the art on tap definitely sounds interesting to me. But let's get into Steel Valley Visions, because this sounds super cool. There's, a traditional museum exhibit aspect, but there's also an immersive component. So what can visitors expect from these two parts?
So Steel Valley Visions, An American Legacy has that traditional exhibition, as you mentioned. Visitors can enter that exhibition space and really follow the story of the Big Steel era of this region, starting with the land and really why the Big Steel era was here and the incredible history of this region leading up to the Big Steel era, the rivers, the land itself, all of these components were really the ingredients for Western Pennsylvania to be the right spot for this industrial era. When we talk about the people, there were countless numbers of people that were immigrants that came to this region, that migrated from other parts of the country, along with just locals that had been here to really make that industrial era happen. And then we also have a section, because as a lot of us know in this region, there was a rise and fall of the Big Steel era. So artists were documenting that as well through paintings and photographs. So the immersive part is a very cool companion to the exhibition. So at the heart of our museum is this huge gallery with tall ceilings, and we have used projection mapping to be able to take many of the works in Steel Valley Visions and from our permanent collection to make them larger than life, to tell the story of the Big Steel era through those artworks. You actually feel like you're stepping into a lot of these paintings. You can see the brush strokes, you can see the texture of the canvas. Oh, wow. And we use different music and sound effects and some light animation. And it's just an incredible experience that we are so excited for visitors to enjoy, to really further help them to connect with the art and the history of the Big Steel era.
Absolutely. And you actually curated this exhibit yourself. So what was that process like? And what are some of your favorite parts that people just can't miss?
Oh my gosh, it was just such a privilege and an honor to work on this exhibition, to get to be the curator. I am a historian by training. I grew up in Pittsburgh. I absolutely love the history of this region. And I know how much this particular industrial history means to people who are from this area as well. One of my favorite parts of the exhibition is that Igniting Inspiration section, where we have, artists like Stephen Towns and Marie Watt, these really amazing American artists responding to that era. But also right by that, we knew that people were going to have personal connections to this history, whether it was their grandparents or great grandparents, came to the region as immigrants to work in the mills and the mines, or if it was people today who still work, because these industries still exist, just not the scale they used to. And so we have a visitor response area where people can share their own Steel Valley connections on these little cards shaped like gears. So again, it was just a real privilege and honor to get to tell this very important story through the amazing collection here.
This sounds so thoughtfully done, Dr. Erica Knuckles. We appreciate you being here. You can learn more at thewestmoreland.org, and we'll have that link in our show notes as well, so you're just a click away. Thank you for listening.
That's all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh. You can support us by becoming a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor. Learn more at membership.citycast.fm. And a heads up, our new podcast from CityCast, Your City Could Be Better, it's going to start dropping in your podcast feeds on Sundays. We really hope you check it out. And thank you to the folks that sent us nice notes about it. We have passed them on to David Plotz. He's very pleased. Our music is by Los Mocochetes, Aaron Taylor Waldman, All the Kimonos, Howard Harper Barnes, Spring Gang, and Chanterelle, with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren. Mallory Falk is our executive producer. Sophia Lowe and Matthew Rogers produce the show this week. Francesca DeBecco writes our newsletter, and I'm your host, Megan Harris. We will be back on Monday with more from around the city. Have a great weekend, y'all.
I think we should give the Wienermobile a waiver. They should be able to drive as fast as they want.
Yeah, I feel like this is like the Shel Silverstein thing, like I want the Apple car with the little worm in it. It's so cute.
That's Richard Scary.